Live from the 93.7 The Ticket studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Bringing you the latest from the Square Circle on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Jake Bockoven.
Yes, great to be with you here on a Sunday night. It is Nuclear Heat. Time to talk some WWE wrestling. We would like to welcome everybody that's been listening to the NFL playoff games here on 93.7 The Ticket. Excellent NFL action. A few snow games to punch your ticket to the championship game. So it was awesome. Augie, who is in studio with me, has his Eagles jersey on, his Eagles hat on. He continues to parade around being a fan of a good franchise. For some reason, I chose the Cardinals way back when. Shouldn't have done that. But congratulations, Augie, on your Eagles. Moving on. And I know we're going to talk plenty of wrestling. I just wanted to say, how great are snow games? That was incredible today.
Yeah, it's really fun, to see those and to have just a generational running back like, the Eagles have in Saquon. Thank you, New York Giants, for just gifting him to us. So any Giants fan, I thank you. Sincerely, it's just great. And then the offensive line, Cam Jurgens from Nebraska is on that. Met him last year down here. It's just phenomenal. And the Eagles have had their down years too. So I feel it's only kind of, we're kind of there, and it's only kind of been recently that we've kind of been back at the top, kind of there. So I felt those 4-12 seasons before too. So it hurts.
Well, yeah. Well, I do know that at least, my Cardinals or maybe haven't been so great over the last couple of years, but at least they've made it to a Super Bowl. Now the Cowboys are the longest running NFC team not to have made it to a Super Bowl since the mid-90s. So America's team is sure struggling. And I know you as an Eagles fan be excited about that. And the fact that you get to play the Commanders, the little NFC East battle for Super Bowl playoff or Super Bowl opportunity.
Yep. I saw a stat that, now that the Commanders made it, it's every team the Cowboys have played has now made it to the NFC Championship game before the Cowboys have, and that just that warms the heart in there, because as a big time Eagles fan, that's literally the one team, one organization I just can't stand.
Well, I think only Deion Sanders could say that now, so hopefully that's what we get, because that would be even more exciting moving forward in the NFL. But college, not college, usually translation to college football. Let's translate to wrestling actually, which is all about the Royal Rumble. We're counting down to the Royal Rumble. We're having huge stars declare that they're going to get into the Royal Rumble. So it makes for a very exciting time of the year, especially for me. I mean, and for all wrestling fans, we know that Royal Rumble basically kicks off WrestleMania season. A lot of people that are kind of in between wrestling fans, I would say, friends that I know, watch WrestleMania and they watch the Royal Rumble because they know the Royal Rumble will partially set up WrestleMania. And so it's an exciting time, and let's go ahead and start reviewing Raw and SmackDown. Again, we kind of formulate or format the show based on if there's anything crazy that happens on SmackDown. We'll talk about it right away. I don't feel like that was necessarily the case this week. There's plenty of fun to talk about SmackDown, so we'll get to that. But I want to start off with Raw just because it kind of puts us in a place and gets us ready for tomorrow night's Monday Night Raw, which, by the way, JBL will return to Monday Night Raw in Dallas. What are you a big JBL fan? What would you like to see from JBL's return here?
I wasn't when he was a wrestler, but I think the older I got, the more I appreciated him, because he did such a good job of being that that money bad guy on there. But I'll tell you this, he is a great commentator. The way he really just gets into it and is just goes over the top with his with his commentating and everything there. I think he does a phenomenal job. So I am excited to see him return here for the first time in a while.
And he's been making his moves on the indies a little bit as of late. So I'm wondering if he's going to actually come out and fight a little bit, or at least for a spot, obviously. Again, it's in Dallas, so he's going to be very much beloved there. He's from Sweetwater, Texas. And of course, he's a Cowboy. So, I mean, like we just said, the Dallas, you love the Cowboys there. So it will be a lot of fun. It was kind of weird to see. When I kind of got back into wrestling, I shouldn't say there was a time period where I, it was always just kind of here and there. But when his battle as a heel against Eddie Guerrero was a lot of fun, and that was a time that kind of drew me back in at one point in time too. So it'll be fun to see what they have in store for JBL. His most recent WWE appearances was trying to help Baron Corbin, which they never pushed Corbin with. I thought it was like that's an okay idea. And I was interested to see what it would look like, but they never gave Corbin any wins. And then they're like, well, I guess it didn't really work. Well, yeah, because you didn't push him at all.
Yeah. Baron Corbin is one of those stories of a guy that could have been pushed to the moon, had everything, and they dropped the ball, unfortunately. But, with JBL, hopefully, that'd be kind of nice to see him. Maybe, he comes in and he's one of those surprises for the Royal Rumbles. I noticed
if he declares for the Rumble, that'd be great.
I mean, I noticed on the men's side, you only get a couple of those. On the women's side is kind of when you get more. The men's, it's such a big roster. But that'd kind of be a fun one to see him clothesline somebody. Oh, that he had some killer clotheslines. That was destructive. When he did that, dude, just seeing him do that to like John Cena and all that, like in 05, 07. Yeah. He pretty much decapitated people. So that'd be fun to see again.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe we'll get APA JBL out there, or Ron Simmons maybe will come out with him, and so you could have a lot of fun. It was with the Acolytes at one time, but yeah, I think his best run as the singles competitor was as JBL. So it'll be fun. And I agree with you too. There's a lot of mixed opinions on his commentary. I always thought he's very entertaining and very good at it. Not, I like Wade Barrett and the guys they have now too, but I wouldn't mind him, showing up for some commentary here is, again as well.
Yeah. And I think he did a lot of it during I think what people would say, kind of the low part, the PG era, the early 2010s, is kind of when he was a main commentator. And I can see it. He just didn't have the greatest wrestling, to commentate, but man, when he really gets into it, it's a lot of fun. And I think I just remember him voicing the video games too, when playing those, he's kind of the main commentator, in there. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see what they do with it there.
Yeah, we'll see what goes on there. Other news to hit real quick before we get into Raw is that WWE and TNA have a deal of a little bit of crossover now that they're going to do with NXT and TNA. So that's very interesting. Again, I don't watch a whole lot of AEW unless it's TNA. I know over the years they've had some good rosters, kind of was that AEW for a while. But either way, it'll be a little bit of fun to start, mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah, the Royal Rumble. Because we saw, I think last year we saw the TNA Women's Champion, Jordana Grace, I think was her name.
Right. Yeah.
She made it. Mickey James made an appearance.
Yeah.
So the Hardy Boys are over there. Dolph Ziggler is with TNA. I think Samoa Joe. I think
he's at AEW.
Oh, he's at AEW still. Dang. Well, it's some of those guys we haven't seen in a while. I mean, the Royal Rumble, it's just a fun time. I think that's why it's probably, as you said, outside of WrestleMania, probably the most popular premium live event that they have, this event, because this is what you get. You never know who's going to show up. And I mean, now that they've kind of have a contract with TNA, you can borrow some of those guys and have some fun appearances come up.
Yeah, those surprise returns are always what I like most about the Royal Rumble. So we did open up WWE Raw with a few guys jumping into the Rumble. CM Punk opened up Raw, a bit of mocking Hulk Hogan with the motions. Of course, Hulk Hogan got booed after the initial Raw. And as a reminder, this is Raw on Netflix, so people around the globe are tuning in once again. And so CM Punk opened up and basically said he was going to put Seth Rollins behind him and join John Cena, who he can see in the Royal Rumble. So you're already starting to get a stacked class there. As we know, Roman Reigns hinted at that he'll be in the Rumble. So you can almost count him in there. But in this segment, Rollins did interrupt, decided to enter the Rumble himself. And then eventually Drew McIntyre interrupt and mocked both Punk and Rollins. And always, again, as a heel, has some good points that make you think, oh, maybe he's right about all this stuff. And even mentioned the return to power of Roman Reigns. So this was just a great way to open it up. It stacks the field for you. You're kind of starting to think, okay, there's some major power players in the Royal Rumble. A few other interesting notes kind of coming out of this. Remember, Drew McIntyre lost in his previous appearance to Jey Uso at the previous Premium Live event. And I was always kind of thinking, well, what's that setting up? Well, we saw what it would do for Jey Uso, and Drew was able to come up, get right next to his next feud, hardly even acknowledge the fact that he lost, right? Yeah. And just kind of move on. So that decision, which I questioned out of the previous Raw, right? It makes a little bit more sense. That's usually what happens when you see something you're like, well, I don't know about the booking there. Well, it's usually to plan something else. So overall, Drew McIntyre not too hurt by it.
Yeah.
It just continues somewhat of a theme of Drew McIntyre coming up short. And then, this whole idea of Roman Reigns returning to power, if he's going to continue along that idea, then you would assume they're going to have to bring up the fact that he lost to Jey Uso and have to run through that again.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I love when they do this because there's so many storylines, right? Like CM Punk is doing it to win the championship. Rollins is doing it to stop CM Punk from winning the championship. Drew is doing it to stop Roman Reigns from winning, right? So you got all these guys going after each other. And to your point of what you said there with Drew, it is interesting because, he's entering it there. And then we said Jay's kind of getting rewarded, right? WWE kind of put themselves in a corner. And I will talk about this later. With Jay's opportunity Jay has already officially entered in the Royal Rumble as well. So what does that tell you?
Probably not going to win Saturday night.
Probably not going to win Saturday night, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people have pointed that out, and they're like, well, if your plan was to have, Jay kind of step up from that and get this opportunity, the week before, don't announce he's going to be in the Royal Rumble because that kind of spoils it on there. So that's kind of one thing I kind of caught on from the Monday Raw and wasn't kind of a big fan of with that. But with Drew, we were a little worried, that it would kind of sour something there. But man, I thought this opening segment was fun. Just you can tell these three guys just have a whole lot of fun working with each other, or they hate each other. It's one of the two. And it's just phenomenal. The back and forth, Drew saying they were teasing, fighting each other. And Drew's like, no, like, yeah. Roman's playing checkers. The rest of us are playing chess. Like, I'm not after you guys. And it was just phenomenal all around. And I don't know if you caught it, but when Seth Rollins interrupted CM Punk and the music, CM Punk is like, why can't it be someone I want interrupting me? Why can't Rhea Ripley? Right. And I thought that was just comedic gold. And it's just a really fun time to watch wrestling right now.
Yeah, and like you said, kind of stacking up the Rumble and grabs your attention right away out of the gate for this episode of Raw. And then you get an excellent match to actually start the action, which is Chad Gable against the debuting Penta. I think Michael Cole called it the worst kept secret in wrestling because Chad Gable had been calling out. He specifically wants to beat a luchador, and we've been seeing these promos for Penta coming up. So the worst kept secret in wrestling. It did turn out Chad Gable against Penta. Penta maybe a little sloppier than normal due to some nerves or whatever was going on there. I also saw that maybe he had taken a little bit, or that match took up a little bit more time than they wanted to, and he had a promo at the end. Just really celebrating, but it was also very cool. Sometimes that can happen. This is Raw on Netflix. You can kind of move things around. Very cool. His daughter was up in the front row crying. I mean, this is how much it meant to Penta to get here. And ultimately, as Chad Gable, we know, I mean, he's always good in the ring. So this was a pretty good size, open, comparison here. Penta ends up getting his driver finisher to help get the W. And then, like I said, went into his promo, just thanking just about everybody and calling it, the new era for Penta with his catchphrase, Cero Miedo, which means zero fear. Yeah. Zero fear. Which I had to look that up. Even though I went to 4 years of Spanish, I did not remember. Cero, I could remember. Miedo. Is that how you say it?
Miedo.
Yeah. You say it better.
Miedo. Yeah, it's all right. It's okay. It's all right.
I didn't know that one. But anyways, the big kind of thought out of this is, first of all, it's a big win for Penta. I don't think it hurts Gable, right? I mean, so again, it's just a good work, but it kind of brings you right up into the mid card right away before kind of being down on the lower card. So it got a lot of people thinking, is Penta in the crowd reaction? I mean, everybody was into this. Main event worthy someday, do you think? Or is he just, again, he's on the smaller side? Yeah. Sometimes it's tough to rise the ranks there and fight for a heavyweight championship at some point.
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, his reaction, a lot of people know him, and that's rare because when people don't kind of come up through the WWE, a lot of people don't know who they are, but it sure seems like a lot of people did. And he's great, in the ring. Like you said, it looked a little sloppy, but I didn't know who he was much. So I started looking at a lot of his tapes, a lot of his, old matches. First off, WWE has got to do a lot more of the intergender matches because Penta versus Io and Chelsea Green, like you can do that in the WWE, especially now that you're on Netflix, you can kind of get away with that stuff, and it's just phenomenal. They work really well, and I think he's really good at it. There, the one thing I will say is, I know people are gonna, and you kind of pointed this out to me once. Don't pair him with Rey Mysterio right away. You got to let him do his own thing. Yes, luchador, all that. They kind of LWO, they have that. Just let him do his own thing. See how the crowd reacts. Give him a couple more wins. Have him, he's got the Royal Rumble. He's probably going to be in it. Have him show off there, kind of show what he can do. If he does a great job there, I mean, he is. I think he's like 40 already.
He's a little older.
Yeah, someone that's older that's been around for a while. So, if he does do good, here, I mean, you can start shooting him, that intercontinental title maybe, and then kind of see what works from there. And also he looks really cool. His mask, his paint, everything. It all just perfection there. Just knock on wood. Hopefully, no injuries in that, and he can just kind of perform how he needs to. And yeah, they can really do whatever they want with him.
Well, it also brings you to a larger discussion where the WWE's been trying to replace Rey Mysterio, not actively like trying to push him out the door, but trying to find somebody to be that next luchador to kind of, bring in a lot of interest from, just the Mexican market and just, how big a deal that is. And they've never been able to, I mean, they try Sin Cara, right? Right now they're telling you Dragon Lee?
Yeah, Dragon Lee
is the next up and comer, but it's tough to say.
Yeah.
I mean, you just put him next to Penta and you're like, okay, well, maybe that, that seems like more of a legit opportunity. Like you said, the crowd already behind him. You don't have to do a whole lot of work there. So it's basically just don't screw it up, right?
Yeah.
You open it with Chad Gable.
Yeah.
Now don't feed him to anybody right away. Let him build up. And like you said, maybe naturally rise his way up the card. And then, who doesn't love the small, underdog storyline that they did push with Rey Mysterio back in the day that they could do here. And so maybe, and we've said it before again, maybe they have found an answer to replace Rey, who's getting up there in age.
Yeah, and one of the bigger things is he speaks well. He can speak English. Which not saying anything, but that does translate too. To the audience. They want to know what we can say. Sin Cara, I don't think I ever heard him speak. Dragon Lee, he does, but it's not. It just doesn't feel right. It's a little bit different. And with Penta, it kind of feels right. Kind of like with Rey. When they talk, it feels natural. Whereas with other ones, it kind of feels forced. And so I think that's kind of another leg he has, there is he can connect with the fans that way.
Yeah. So it'll be very exciting to see what Penta does in the future. So that brand new matchup, Chad Gable and Penta. From that, we went to Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser, which is not a brand new matchup, but it's a hard-hitting matchup that WWE knows they can rely on. Again, you got a big, a lot of new audience here from around the world from being on Netflix. So when you have a chance, play the hits and put on a banger. And as we know, Sheamus always puts on bangers. He ends up getting the win, a brogue kick for the win, and then goes and celebrates with Pat McAfee for his victory there. Ends up getting a confrontation with Braun Breaker, who I guess just bought front row tickets. I like how they do that. Like, he's just sitting over on the side watching two guys he hates fight, that have been fighting for his belt. So you knew that was going to happen. Eventually, they kind of pulled them apart and teased Sheamus against Braun Breaker. They've been doing kind of this three-way battle for a long time. And of course, behind it all is Sheamus's quest to finally, become, what do they call it? What is
Grand
Triple
Slam.
Crown? Grand Slam.
Yeah.
A Grand Slam champion and finally get the coveted Intercontinental title that has evaded him his whole career. So I think that's where they're going with it. Maybe cutting out Ludwig Kaiser, but with these three, it's just been it's been cyclical. So what would you do next year? Is Sheamus, Braun Breaker enough for you? I mean, with that storyline behind it, because I know there are opinions out there, and to include my own, that this Braun Breaker championship run is feeling a little stale. And again, it's just because the same opponents keep coming up.
Yeah, we've been in this storyline for a couple months now. It doesn't seem like it, but we really have. And I kind of mentioned it at first. I didn't want it to be this triple, this three-way between them there. And I think, Ludwig Kaiser has done a great job of inserting him into that, being relevant with it. But now I think you just got to give us the payoff of Sheamus versus Braun. And I think at this point, I hate to say it because we say, push Braun to the moon, but it almost feels like Sheamus is going to get that belt from him. And if he can do it one-on-one, that kind of sets it up maybe for another try. Because I don't think did they announce that this one is taking place that Saturday night, or is it?
No,
not yet.
It's just from the fact that they were face to face that it looks like that's where they're going.
Yeah, it's going to happen on there. So, I think you just got to do that and, kind of see what kind of a reaction, because Sheamus never puts on a bad match, and Braun doesn't either. We know that. But I think, now you just got to go one-on-one. If Braun can retain and, I don't think you keep playing the storyline with Sheamus because you got to do something else with him. We're entering WrestleMania season, and we thought by this time he might be in a world title, picture. And you barely see him now. He's doing a lot of backstage segments as Intercontinental Championship. So they got to do something different here. So I'm hoping it's just Sheamus and Braun. They can kind of settle it here, but WWE likes to really extend these, and they might have fell in love with this feud. So who knows? We might see it a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's interesting because we talked about kind of slowly building up tension. A lot of it too is in WWE. When you're the new guy in the locker room, you got to kind of take your hits as you're coming up. They're not, the easiest booking is just, hey, make this guy win 50 matches in a row and put him on top of the company. But it does feel like Breaker's losing a little bit of steam of what he once had. Certainly from our fantasy booking last year, and a lot of people's fantasy booking. I'm not saying it's an original idea to have him be the one that took down Gunther for the Intercontinental title, which he had for a record amount of time. It would have been a big move. They give it to Sammy. Again, I'm not sure if Sammy's a whole lot in a different place in his career because of it.
Yeah,
kind of had a WrestleMania moment, I guess. But so it's interesting that I'm even to the point. And Sheamus, I love Sheamus. I've always liked Sheamus. He's a great wrestler, very entertaining. But he kind of, he's been around long enough. He's not usually your favorite wrestler, or unless you're just a huge Sheamus fan. He's kind of raising a little bit up there again, to your point, to where I a couple months ago, I'd say, yeah, this is good. Put Braun Breaker over. Now I'm kind of thinking, all right, let's just do something interesting with it. And Sheamus would be something interesting with the Intercontinental title. Interesting. I would say, if I was them, to book it out to WrestleMania, I think you could get kind of a big moment, exciting moment for Sheamus there, if that's what they plan to do, or stomp his dreams out and get some more heel on that heat.
Yeah, they've been
heat on the heelish.
Yeah, they've been known to do that a couple times on there. So are you thinking then Braun would retain, and then Sheamus would win at WrestleMania? Then
if they can stretch it out that far. But again, that's where you're kind of wondering, because they've already stretched it out as long as they have. And so, I mean, I think what I expect to happen is Braun Breaker and Sheamus to eventually fight, and Ludwig Kaiser to come in and break it, and they'll just continue this cycle of what they're doing. But who knows? Maybe we'll see some fresh ideas. But they've got to get something going for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. One of the things that bugs me the most is when they don't have a U.S. title or Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. They'll do it the SmackDown the night before or something like that, and then you're just thinking, okay, you're telling us now that belt's not even WrestleMania worthy. You've got like 4 or 5 or 6 of them, in totality.
Yeah.
Though they seem to be adding more. Just get it on the card.
Yeah.
And a Sheamus trying to win, I think, would be good enough for the card.
Yeah, and especially now with like 2 nights, 4 hours, all your champions, even the tag team champions should be in WrestleMania. I get that there. So it's always hard to see there. And we thought Braun would keep the Intercontinental title kind of where Gunther was. He's not having success with the World Championship either, so they're kind of just failing all around in that, but it really hasn't. It's just kind of felt stale, and that's very disappointing, because Braun Breaker, I think, could do great things with that.
Well, we'll get to Gunther, but like Gunther and Damian Priest and Breaker, I mean, there's just a lot of guys that's like, all right, ready to red hot after some of these feuds a few months ago, and then fast forward 3 months later, it's the same thing. I mean, except for not red hot now, right? Now it's been staleness for 3 months, so it kind of backs down. So we'll see. They've got to heat it up. This is about the time of the year they usually do. So I trust in them. I just would have booked it a little bit differently leading to this. Keep a couple backstage segments to think about here. Liv Morgan talks to Dom Mysterio, tells him it's all good, then makes him go grab the bag. So I think Dom's still in the doghouse. They're trying to go back to Rhea there.
Yeah, that was a funny segment, but
not much to say to that, but that was entertaining. And then Rollins confronted Sami Zayn about helping himself instead of helping Roman Reigns. So you kind of continue that story there. And then we got Karrion Kross telling Miz that the White Six have moved to SmackDown. And that set up Zayn and Miz for later in the night, which is fine enough. I mean, a good matchup, but that brings an end to the White Six feud with Karrion Kross and the Final Testament. And again, speaking of, I don't know if we're better off for either of them before we started. You're kind of just right back there. But it feels like before they got to an end to it, they've got new plans. So we'll see what they do. Again, there always seems to be potential for the White Six. And by not losing, I think the Final Testament, I don't even know maybe they did lose the last match. I don't even remember at this point. But it didn't feel like they lost that feud. And by not losing a feud, I think that's the best they've done in like the last 8 feuds. They'd never win feuds.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's going to become a Karrion Kross Miz kind of type of maybe WrestleMania or before? Like that's that feels like that's what they're booking. They're on TV together every week, and it's
gonna be tough to get that on the card.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those. If that replaces a championship match, that's where you're like, okay, you're really doing some bad things here. But for the Wyatt Six, a move to SmackDown might be good, but I don't think this is a good sign that you're getting moved. Like Karrion Kross saying you moved to SmackDown. They've really just dropped the ball with them.
They got to. I think they've got, when they do make their SmackDown appearance. I think it has to be in a few weeks. You just got to let it be a big surprise, and have it be somebody impactful again.
Yeah.
They haven't really gone after anybody higher up on the card, and again, to the last that I remember, and I get this all confused, but the last thing I remember is Bo Dallas getting pinned.
Yeah.
So maybe they did win this feud, and that's not good.
Yeah,
and not good for Wyatt.
I mean, or another big thing is they choose their next challenger. You don't have them enter the Royal Rumble. You have them disrupt the Royal Rumble, right? And kind of eliminate the person there and make it be someone. I don't know off the top of my head because I really don't care at this point. I feel like they kind of did that, but
right.
They do that.
You're right.
Even it's one of the things that rubs me. Even though you're not in the Royal Rumble, you can eliminate somebody from the Royal Rumble, and maybe that's kind of what they do. But I agree, you can't just bring them right back. But I don't know, man. It such a big hype and everything, and they
made us watch weeks and weeks of that feud, and just to have a nothing, just someday Karrion Kross say, they moved away. We'll focus on different things. It's like, where was this going? And so sometimes, but maybe it just was, again, to our point, wasn't maybe getting the reaction they wanted or expected, and now have to pivot.
Yeah, no way. And this is two feuds because I don't even remember the Chad Gable. I don't think they finished that feud. I think they just had like one or two matches. And that was it. And then they ignored it. And then they went on to the Karrion Kross thing. But the one thing I'll say is you cannot put these guys individually in the Royal Rumble. You cannot do that.
No.
They cannot be jobbers to do that. If you do that, it's done for them.
I was in the local mall, by the way, and I always like to check out local, like resold type of stuff.
Yeah.
I found they were trying to charge like $20 for an action figure of Mace.
Oh my god!
That is going to sit here. Now Mace's character actually looked kind of cool, so maybe some kid will pick it up. But I never thought I'd see an action figure of Mace, much less in the year of 2025. And yes, me bringing that up is telling you that's kind of where these groups are.
Yeah,
they these dark groups that are supposed to take over. That was Retribution, right?
Yeah, T-Bar, Mace. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
Yep, that's all I remember is those two.
Oh man, what was the third one's name? The man, he had the worst name of all of them.
T-Bar, Mace.
I can't even remember. You're right.
Mustafa Ali and Mia Yim were the other people. I don't remember who the other guy was.
Yeah, I can't remember either. That was a rough time in WWE, but they gave it a shot. Again, not everything works, and sometimes it just entertains the crowd for right then. Let's go ahead and take a quick break here on Nuclear Heat. We'll be right back to review the second half of Raw and SmackDown coming next year on 93.7 The Ticket.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. The last few years have been wild, but we've been here for you through all the ups and downs, and we'll be here for you when you need us the most, for all your travels and for your day-to-day driving. With winter conditions causing problems all over town, the last thing anyone needs this year is constant car troubles. Let us help you drive in peace and make sure you drive to work and to winter destinations safe. A1 Automotive, 11th and L Street downtown, always honest answers.
I'm softball player Jordy Ball, and I'm proud of my Nebraska roots, and I'm proud to be back home. And at Midwest Bank, they're proud to be your local community bank. They believe in family first, taking initiative, showing integrity, and rolling up their sleeves to support their local communities. They treat everyone like family, no matter where you're from. Whether you walk into a branch in York, Lincoln, Norfolk, or Pierce, you know you're going to be welcomed with a smile. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza, the big one, all the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Early break.
There, I was just waiting. And then the lady appeared, and I just tried to make a joke. I said, I thought everything was free today. And she said, if you take anything out of here, we will follow you home. I'm like, I was kidding. I'm not taking anything.
You're on the list, buddy.
Yeah.
You're on the list
I
now.
will follow you home.
I've had it happen a couple times or something.
People followed you.
Early break from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People Seeding Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bockoven on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right. We are back here on Nuclear Heat, our WWE Week in Review show. I am Jake Bockoven, your host, alongside Nuclear Heat contributor and my tag team partner, Augie Pena. And we were just going through WWE Raw. We got about halfway through it. We did reminisce on Retribution. And so during the break, we had to go back and look at that name that we were thinking about. We forgot about Slapjack.
Oh, yeah.
How could we forget Slapjack?
Good old Slapjack. You know, nothing like it making it to the pros. WWE, kid, you're Slapjack.
Yes.
Along with T-Bar and Mace. This is it. You've made it.
Well, and that is, again, it's easy to, when you think about, booking yourself and just going in there and doing the Goldberg run. But there's a lot of people, you're making your way through the business. You've got to take that role. You got to take whatever you can. Yeah. And a lot of times you got to take that role that's going to be tough to get over.
I mean, there's Eugene.
Yes, Eugene did it.
Do you remember Festus?
Yes, that's right.
Is it Stinky? Slinky?
Oh, yeah. I don't remember, yeah.
Snitsky.
Snitsky was one, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You're right. There are some people. James Ellison or whatever. Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, he just in himself, but that was good. But yeah. Oh man, I just couldn't imagine. I know you got to start out a job or somehow, but yeah, they hit you with Slapjack or something like that. That's gonna be hard to recover for the rest of your life.
Retribution just had so much potential until they were there. And again, that's the problem. A lot of it's like behind the scenes. There's a lot of good ways to make it look. To make a group look daunting, and then they have to actually get in the ring, and oftentimes that kind of brings them down. I think with the Wyatt Six, you're kind of seeing a little bit of that too. Turns out Bo Dallas is still Bo Dallas. Not that it's awful, but it's not Bray Wyatt.
He still believes.
That's right. He still believes. All right, where were we at? We were at the Gunther promo, going through WWE. This is where Jey Uso ended up challenging Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship at Saturday Night Main Event, and that will be next Saturday in San Antonio. Gunther says he will expose Jey as a really, really good tag team wrestler. I love how Gunther sets you up, starts giving you a compliment, and then brings you down. So again, we kind of give our thoughts a little bit about this. Gunther has not exactly had the best world heavyweight championship run. They even kind of played with his own confidence at one point during it. So hopefully, in my mind, this would be somewhat of a squash match.
Yeah.
But Jey, again, it's tough to say that. And as it's weird, Jay's just in such a weird spot because his entrance is so over. The yeet stuff. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, but Rhea Ripley's doing it all the time, and just everybody on the rock. So it's just so over that at some point you're like, okay, maybe they do push him. I don't think it's here.
No.
And you mentioned a pretty good reason why he's going to be showing up in the Royal Rumble a few days later. But I guess it's good enough to convince NBC that this is a main event for Saturday night's main event, and that's kind of the booking problem that they've kind of set up here. Not that I won't watch it, I'll be excited for it, but it doesn't even feel like Saturday night's main event is going to live up to a SmackDown or Raw at this point, because it's just kind of a something they have to get through to get to their next storytelling. But who knows? We could be surprised if Jey Uso wins that. Then that'll be quite the different reaction to what that event will be.
Yeah, that'd be a huge shocker, because my whole plan to save Gunther was have John Cena win the Royal Rumble, and then have him feud with Gunther there. And if Jey wins it, like you said, that kind of just throws everything out. But the WWE, they play it safe a lot, but they will surprise us some on there. And I'm going to say this, and this might be controversial: Jey Uso over, right? We agree, over one of the greatest entrances. I think Jimmy is better in the ring.
Oh wow,
than Jey is.
Wow.
They both are horrible at the spears. They both do super kick, but I don't know. There's just something about Jimmy. He just feels more polished in the ring than Jey does. Jey does everything else. Jimmy, to me, is just better in the ring. And I know that's probably a hot take there.
That's definitely a hot take
on there with that. But yeah, I mean, this is fine. Jey, this is like his 5th, 6th time being the guy that gets up there. They're kind of pushing him, just teasing his fans, and then all for him to just fall flat. I mean, he won the Intercontinental Championship once.
Yeah.
And that's really been it.
What do you have that for like 2 weeks? And then, he had that. The part of the problem with this is that Gunther and Jey have already done this for the Intercontinental title. And Gunther got the best of Jey twice. Expect kind of a similar thing here. They suppose they're going to bump it up. Both of them have earned that to this next level. But again, it's just going to be hard to see Jey Uso come out of here. And if that is the route they go, it would be further questioning the booking decision there. So just don't see that happening. Then we get to the Women's Intercontinental Championship between Lyra Valkyria and Dakota Kai. Of course, this was set up from the tournament that has been going on for the last several weeks. They ended up choosing Valkyria as the winner here. She delivers the Nightwing for the win. And of course, this is she had kind of had this battle. She came up a little bit short in the Queen of the Ring against Damage Control's Io Sky. So I think she's going to just have to go through Damage Control with this Intercontinental Championship. That's where I think they're going with it, which could be interesting. But also of note, new entrance theme for Dakota Kai, a hard-hitting match. Is she just naturally who they viewed her, Valkyria with right away? It's interesting to see what they do here. I got to tell you, I love the belts right now that they put on the women. I Chelsea Green and Rhea Ripley, and who am I missing there?
Lyra.
Well, Lyra Valkyria, but
Tiffy,
especially Tiffany Stratton. If I had a fantasy book, 3 of those 4 would have the belts.
Yeah.
Lyra Valkyria is not necessarily the way that I would go, but they love her as a company.
Yeah.
We've seen with their booking so far. So, again, I don't necessarily get it. I mean, she's kind of, for me, kind of in. I don't really. She comes out with wings and stuff. I don't really know what her thing is, and so part of that's maybe not watching NXT or whatever. But I like to view it as the new WWE fans that see it, so I don't get too much into their NXT careers. So I don't necessarily get it, but they love her, and so we'll see what they do with her.
Yeah, no, and that is the universal question. The problem is she doesn't do anything. She wrestles. She never had, she has backstage segments, but they're nothing. There's
She
no
doesn't have a gimmick. Really.
Yeah. And so that's the thing is, and I'm glad you said that, because my next thing I was going to say is she's boring. Other than she's good in the ring, she is really good, but she has no personality. Outside of the ring with her. Whereas Dakota Kai, everybody knows who she is. She's the talking figure. The voice of Damage Control, has been for about a year now. Pretty much a year, because Bailey's been. So about
WrestleMania.
about a good year here. So she's had time to develop. And Lyra, it's just one of those where I don't think her gimmick was super over, but she's somebody that they just kind of forced on everybody, right? Because like you said, she made it to the finals of the Queen of the Ring. She was one of the last three, I think, in for Rhea's title, right? That Royal Rumble. I think she was like 3 or 4, and she's always in these tournaments and gets close and close. But yeah, they just don't really do much with her. And like I said, I hate to say it, she's just kind of boring. So I would have went like with you, Dakota Kai. I think that's who everybody kind of wanted to go with. And it would have made sense. And I could see them feuding, but didn't they raise each other's hands at the end? So kind of a Dakota Kai fate, and I kind of don't like when they, when they do things like that. Because I know Dakota Kai would probably be the heel in that, but I guess they kind of haven't been heels, Damage Control, for the last month, I'd say, because they've been feuding with Pure
Fusion Collective.
Pure Fusion Collection. Yeah. Well, I don't know why I can't remember their names. But yeah, they've been feuding with them. So I guess we'll have to see. It was a good match.
Hard hitting match. Good match.
I just did not. I was very disappointed that Lyra came on top of Dakota Kai.
Yeah. It's definitely, again, with establishing your Intercontinental Championship too, is that they could have went with Bayley, they could have went with Io Sky. You could go with a big name.
Yeah.
Even Dakota Kai's aside. I mean, that was kind of an exciting story because we've seen her around for so long and she's good in the ring. But if you really wanted to put this Intercontinental title over, give it to somebody that's been a world champion, and then you've got major storylines to filter through it. They decided to go this route, and again, I'm waiting to see what the payoff at some point is, because they definitely see something in her. Quickly, we've got to start moving through the rest of this show and get to SmackDown. Sami Zayn and The Miz, not much to say there. Zayn hits a Helluva Kick and a Blue Thunder Bomb for the win. Usually doesn't finish his opponents with a Blue Thunder Bomb, so that was kind of notable there. But again, good matchup, 2 veterans. I don't think that feud's going much further, so we'll just move right past that. Then we had the Rhea Ripley promo. Mommy is back on top. Nia Jax interrupts. She wants to enter the Royal Rumble. Notable, Jax showing up on Raw. Has she moved brands now? Bayley enters the ring. I think she was hometown type of feeling here to combat Jax and gets a knee to Jax out of the ring. So Ripley and Bayley stand tall. Any quick thoughts on any of that?
I was gonna be no,
not really.
Nia, no. This is not who I wanted the feud to be. It's fine. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to have a direction for Rhea, right off the top, unless they go back to Liv, which they kept each other away.
Oh boy,
this week. But I don't want to see her against Nia. I don't want to see her against Bayley, Charlotte. Becky Lynch. I mean,
something fresh.
Yeah, they need something fresh here. And gosh, when I saw Nia Jax's music hit, I was like, no, I think this is not happening. This is not. So yeah, that's kind of what I took away from that. They have no direction with Rhea Super Cena right now.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe next week we'll get more of an idea on that. Speaking of going back to Rhea Ripley and Liv, we had a street fight to finish the match tonight between Damian Priest and Finn Balor. To be fair, I think this is the best match that they've had, that they've put on. They had a broken arrow from the stands on the tables, which kind of put Finn Balor into ultimately they're going to take him out on a stretcher. So usually the heel attacks the guy on the stretcher. In this case, Damian Priest attacked Balor, who was on the stretcher, after disposing of JD McDonough and Carlito, of course. They just would keep going after it. The War Raiders would come out to kind of equalize things as far as McDonough and Carlito are concerned. We had a few more new near falls, some table spots, and including, Priest had a chair on his neck for one of his moves, which was kind of interesting. Ends up hitting the South of Heaven for the win. Tells Finn, "I am not my brother's keeper." And the even commentary was kind of saying this is the end of the feud. So I guess I'll believe it now, but backstabbing Finn will probably come up here in a few months. Maybe that'd be fine. Again, they didn't have enough time between kind of slowing it down before and starting it back up again. I guess this is the way to end it, I suppose. I mean, you never got the Demon Fin against Priest, which I that's why I say, you might see this pop up right before WrestleMania and get that match.
Yeah, they should have done this months ago because this was a great match. I thought this, like you said, this was good.
Yeah.
This is how you end it, but it should have been like 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And then I think that would have been a great payoff. Yeah, I'm curious to see kind of what they do with each other because Finn has now really lost, like his last 10 matches. And Damian, they're pushing him. So I guess we'll see what he does at the Royal Rumble, if he makes any noises or if he starts any feud for his WrestleMania run here.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a quick break here on Nuclear Heat. We got to come back and talk about what happened in SmackDown, including Tiffany Stratton's first WWE Women's Championship defense and Rey Mysterio, the hometown legend, getting a lot of screen time here. So we'll talk about that coming up next year on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket.
Play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay. Playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend. Early break.
Buddy, there I was just waiting. And then the lady appeared, and I just tried to make a joke. I said, I thought everything was free today. And she said, if you take anything out of here, we will follow you home. I'm like, I was kidding. I'm not taking anything.
You're on the list, buddy.
Yeah.
You're on the list
I
now.
will follow you home.
I've had it happen a couple times or something.
People follow you.
Early break from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeyman electricians from $32.50 to $42.50 per hour with paid benefits. And if you're looking for a new career, they're hiring apprentices at $19.50 per hour with paid benefits. Call the office at 402-423-4497 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bockoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Of course, there is a new format to SmackDown, 3 hours long. Raw goes 3 hours long, and we got to change our format a little bit more, too, because we just talked about 3 hours of Raw. Now we got to speed through 3 hours of SmackDown, which was in San Diego. Of course, area code 619. So hometown hero Rey Mysterio came out and announced his Rumble interest, that he will be in there to complete the, not complete, but further the stacked field that we're seeing in this year's Royal Rumble. Of course, reminisce a little bit of his 2006 Royal Rumble victory, which led to the championship at WrestleMania. It's always good to go in on that. KO comes out, respectfully interrupts Rey, but then freaks out after a bit because Rey Mysterio doesn't acknowledge the wing title belt that KO is carrying around, Kevin Owens, and then says he's acting like Dom. And once you say you're acting like Dom, then those are fighting words. So KO went after Rey, kind of set up a match for later in the night. All the while, KO is wearing a Mysterio shirt. So interesting, very interesting.
It's interesting. Kevin Owens, is hilarious. Goes in, hey, when you win, Rey, I would be honored if you choose me to be the champion. It's like, Kevin, it's like you're not the champion. I know you're going around with that. That's funny. And that was Rey's response there too. But talk about entrances, man. That booyaka when that hits the 619. Oh, that's phenomenal. Oh yeah, especially in San Diego. Yeah. When we heard it here in Lincoln, that's one of the funnest. There. Rey's a legend. Great. I loved this first segment. I love this delusional Kevin Owens because I think it's going to bring out the best version of him. And getting these two in, going for the main event of or not the main event, but one of the matches in there. I think it was a great way to start SmackDown.
Yeah, it was, and I always remember Mysterio. You know, WWE does a good job usually of setting up your hometown hero to lose.
Yeah.
And they did that later tonight. But
Yeah.
I remember, one of my favorite episodes of SmackDown was and we talk about an insane pop was years ago when Brock Lesnar was on top of the company and Rey Mysterio in San Diego went after him. It was just an episode of SmackDown like this one. This is not leading to anything huge for Rey. It's just he's a legend and he's in the hometown. But that was a lot of fun just because of the crazy reaction to him. So I thought it was a little toned down from 15 years ago or whatever it was, but still a big reaction for him. Then we get to Naomi and Bianca Belair against Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. Excellent match. Probably should have been a title match to put a little bit more onto it. For some reason, they didn't go that route, but This Is Awesome chance went there. Jax accidentally hits LeRae with a leg drop. She gets thrown out of the ring, and then Naomi finishes off LeRae with a bubble bomb there in the corner. I love Naomi's move skills, move set. A lot of fun to watch. And I know you're not a big fan of Nia Jax, but man, as soon as she's not the champion, you just kind of toss her over to the side here.
Yeah, it is hilarious. And just a little sidebar, the funniest thing about this is on social media, Candice LeRae shared the photo of getting hit by Nia Jax, right? And said that WWE wanted to tag her on it, and she posted, "No thanks. I'd rather forget this." I thought that was hilarious.
That's pretty good.
I agree with you. This is a great match. I think all these women need to maybe work on their acting skills a little bit, because I thought some of those backstage stage segments, Naomi, Bianca, I thought that was very cringeworthy. That the whole watch your hair and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought this was actually surprisingly a really good match. When it was fun. I don't. What are you doing though? You're just kind of keeping Bianca and Naomi kind of there, and Nia and Candice are, together, and they're kind of just stuck there. And, I just don't, I don't get it.
Just
like
fills
the
TV time.
Yeah. Like I said, they're not going for the champ. I mean, I guess if they would have won, they would have had a champ, but it's like you would have beaten the champs already.
Yeah.
Yeah. This should have been a title match. And to keep it interesting, like you said, Raw's 3 hours. Why not just throw that on there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or SmackDown. Sorry.
Yeah. We'll see what they do moving forward. But again, not always good just to get an excellent match out of it. So Cody Rhodes and KO refused to sign Nick Aldis's contract adjustment that he wants to make, which I couldn't quite figure out. I don't think, without knowing what Nick Aldis has planned, it didn't really matter to the audience. So I thought that was kind of a miss altogether. I mean, it was just showing that neither of them are gonna, I just didn't really get that whole thing.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe it pays off eventually.
Yeah. I don't know either.
Not much to add to that.
Yeah.
I just wasn't all that interested because it's like, well, okay.
Did they announce it on SmackDown who's going to moderate that though? Did you see that?
I think they did. I don't remember who that was.
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The HBK is going to moderate it. For some reason, he's the guy that's going to get them to sign the contract.
Well, I think this is going to end up with KO having Shawn Michaels in a compromising position. That's kind of what they've been doing. So yeah, that makes enough sense. They'll get more heat on KO. So that's good.
Yeah. Or we could see, an epic Sweet Chin music on KO. I think that'd be really fun.
That'd be really fun. Yeah, I would love Sweet Chin music.
Haven't seen those in years.
Yeah. Jimmy Uso against Carmelo Hayes ends in the Bloodline. Fatu and Tonga interrupting and attacking Uso. They also attack Carmelo Hayes, who was trying to buddy up with them there at the end. Solo shows up. They go to commercial break. They come back. He didn't say a word either.
Yeah.
Either
got
time.
Booed
out of the building. So he just leaves. Then you have Fatu pick up the mic, Jacob Fatu, and start just kind of an intense promo. Led to LA Knight coming out, but LA Knight was outnumbered. So Braun Strowman came out, and Braun Strowman stared down Jacob Fatu. But the Bloodline ultimately got out of there before we get to see any fight there. They did announce that you're going to have Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu for Saturday night's main event, which again, I that's intriguing. I can bring in just for the pure size of these guys.
Oh man, the crowd erupted when they had their stare down. And this is one of those other times. First off, Carmelo Hayes, oh my gosh, they're done with him. He's just a side character, #1 draft pick, all that stuff. It doesn't matter. But the whole Bloodline thing, I thought that was intriguing. Have Solo finally show up, gets booed out. Jacob's mad. We're gonna see some Solo Jacob here, or he might take over the faction.
Right.
On that side, and it kind of intrigued me there. But yeah, it was a lot happened in this segment here. But I thought it was fun. I thought it kind of kept you going and kept you kind of wanting more.
Well, and I think too, it could do a good job. And what I would do is keep Solo off TV for a while, so that when his return, you kind of say, okay, well, it kind of gets some of that, like, that guy's a loser type of feel, like he didn't achieve his goal. And this was a big goal that they were going up since last WrestleMania. So you kind of got to get something new with him. So I think this is a good way to explain it without having to, say, well, when's Solo going to return? Now we've seen him. He left the building. Okay, we can kind of wait till a big spot to bring him back. So hopefully that's what they do. Then we go to Lotus Garces against Motor City Machine Gun, Angel Umberto against Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. Again, we got to go pretty quick. Pretty hard battle, a pretty good, really good tag team action. Pretty Deadly comes in. They attempt to help Los Garzas, but ends up Motor City Machine Guns get the win. Quickly, again, we're just going to have to run through these. Piper Niven against B-Fab. Chelsea Green distracts B-Fab, which allowed Niven to hit the senton for the win. Misha comes out with a kendo stick to prevent a post-match beatdown. Not very good for B-Fab. I mean, this was TV time. You could tell that she's getting better in the ring, but I think she needed to win this one to propose, to get a chance at Chelsea Green. Instead, I don't know what we necessarily accomplished. Is that maybe B-Fab's not ready for that?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Again, with Chelsea Green, there's something to do there. Niven's kind of fun. She's playing the security guard role now. There's something that they could do with the pairing, but this just feels like they had nothing planned for Chelsea Green after the win.
Yeah, no, not at all. And by the way, I don't think we really wanted a B-Fab Chelsea Green storyline.
Not necessarily.
Yeah,
not heartbroken by it.
Yeah, so they're just kind of recycling the Mia Yim thing. Eventually, it's gonna probably be Piper Niven and Chelsea. But like, I agree, they're great together. I don't want them to, to get separate, especially now. Secret Service and the champ of the United States. That's all fun stuff on there. But yeah, I mean, it's just did nobody really didn't do any good there.
Chelsea Green's TV gold. I don't understand how. I don't understand how they didn't have like several different things lined up for her to go. But we're just kind of slow playing it. So we'll see. We did have the Rey Mysterio Kevin Owens match that we talked about earlier. Owens ultimately knocks refs into the rope, which knocks Mysterio down. He was on the top ropes, sets him up for the pop-up powerbomb for Kevin Owens to get the win. KO then looked to offer respect to the legend before setting him up for a pile driver. Cody comes out and makes the save, and in normal fashion, you kind of have to break him up. But really, I think KO just left in the crowd. And then Tiffany Stratton against Bayley. Tiffany Stratton's first WWE Women's Championship defense. We've talked about Bayley, how her look and music maybe needs an update. The music still kind of brings you back to the heel Bayley run. And her look is just looks like Asuka. She just looks like Asuka, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, Tiffany Stratton, Bayley, it was a good match. They were kind of getting tired toward the end. You could tell that. But the prettiest moonsault ever ended up getting Tiffany Stratton her big win in the title defense. And still, it's kind of interesting. Tiffany Stratton now in that Rhea Ripley role from years ago, where she's kind of in between face and heel. She's still kind of technically a heel, but the crowd loves her so much they're gonna have to turn her face.
100%. And that Alabama Slammer before that moonsault, I thought that was great. So yeah, this is a good first title defense, a clean victory. You don't really see those that often. I thought it was great, and I'm curious to see kind of what they do next with Tiffy, because they do have the Royal Rumble. I hope to see her somewhere in there. But we'll have to see it. And I think the big thing, they announced Charlotte's coming back. So,
big promo there.
That's kind of the big thing, and we're probably looking at a Charlotte Tiffany, feud going into WrestleMania here.
Certainly wouldn't mind that, but again, remember, if you're a Tiffany fan, that Charlotte, much like Triple H, can win regardless of whether the booking makes any sense, can win at any time. So we could see that, and that's always entertaining. But in any case, that'll wrap it up for our Nuclear Heat show today. We'll be back next week to talk about Saturday's main event even, and everything that goes on there. So it's going to be a busy week in wrestling. We're going to have a lot of fun next week, so join us there. That'll wrap it up for our local ticket programming for tonight. We'll send it out to national, and if you're on the stream, we'll play some stuff earlier. We'll see you. Good night.